take for granted that we will be able to breathe and walk and do the things that we've always done. I really have an appreciation for being able to breathe and to have durability and to know that the machines that I use will go on and on and on. And I guess it brings you very close to who you are as a person. It hasn't made the quality of my life any worse. This iron lung has made the quality of my life better.
This is Ed Roberts, and in large part, you have him to thank for the modern concepts of the independent living movement, universal design, accessibility rights, and one ever so humble bit of infrastructure that we rarely take the time to think about, the curb cut. Roberts contracted polio in 1953 at the age of 14. As a result, he was nearly completely paralyzed from the neck down. He, like thousands of others at the height of the epidemic, had to live much of his life inside a negative pressure ventilator tank, or what became known as an iron lung. But Roberts didn't let this disability stop him from participating in life and interacting with the world outside his iron lung. In 1963, Roberts was admitted to the University of California, Berkeley, after mounting a campaign for his admission. Once admitted, he continued on to advocate for education rights for others living with profound disabilities, creating at Berkeley a new community of mobility-challenged individuals participating in collegiate education.
Roberts and his friends realized that access to education was only a beginning. They wanted to leave the campus, have jobs, and participate in their communities like everyone else.
And to recognize that we didn't want to live in an institution. I remember one dean at the university said, "Oh, you'll finish your PhD, and then you'll live in a nursing home." And I said, "No, that's not the plan. We're here to change that whole idea."
Their new idea they called independent living.
Independent living is a psychological idea, much more than a physical concept.
Assistant helps Roberts into car.
I'm paralyzed from the neck down, but I'm completely in control of my own life. I make decisions about what I want. And when you begin to believe that, it's very empowering and powerful. And then it becomes, it's almost, when it catches on with other people, they see, well, if he can do that, why can't I?
They set up a place to spread that word and provided job training, housing referral, and skills to live ordinary lives. The center turned Berkeley into the first city with curb cuts, providing people with the most basic access to independent living. There are now hundreds of these centers throughout the world.
Our whole philosophy was, do not make other people with disabilities dependent on you. And our whole professional system is set up that way. Always ask, what do you want to do? Help people learn how to make their own decisions in their life. And you know what? It's that simple.
Together with Hale Zukas and many others, Ed Roberts formed the Rolling Quads and demonstrated across the city of Berkeley and in city council meetings to demand architecture and planning work towards more accessibility. They argued that rather simple alterations to the built environment could provide substantial mobility and independence benefits for the disabled. In 1971, the Rolling Quads finally made the impact they had been working so hard towards for nearly a decade. The city of Berkeley agreed to install a system of curb ramps on nearly every street corner, the first comprehensive system of curb cuts in the world.
Now, one of the reasons that I stayed for 7 weeks, by the way, in rehab, which people don't spend quite that long these days, is because I had to learn my wheelie skills. Look, Ma, one hand. So yes, I'm a show-off, but it's a useful skill because I can jump curbs doing that. And in 1973, there weren't that many curb cuts around. They were just beginning the process. So that was a really valuable skill for me to have, right? But now we got curb cuts all over the place. They're even putting them where you don't need them. I love it. It's a curb cut on the corner. There's no sidewalk coming off either end. You know, they're probably thinking, yeah, go ahead, do it anyway. One of these days we'll put a sidewalk in there. Now, how many of you have heard of the curb cut effect? Does anybody know about this? Well, then let me tell you. What happened when they started cutting the curbs? Who else benefited from this? Who? Bicyclists, parents with strollers, elderly people, delivery people, skateboarders. Yeah. Delivery people. By the way, did you hear that FedEx and UPS were going to merge? Yeah, they were going to call the new company Fed Up. I know. Corny joke, I know. When you design well for disability, you design well for everybody else. When you include disability in the design program, more people benefit. That's why the term is no longer handicap design or barrier-free design, universal design, good design, right? Another example of it is the closed captioning that has been designed for the hearing impaired community. Now, do you think anybody was sitting around thinking, how are we going to solve that problem of not being able to hear the television in a bar? Nobody cared. Nobody imagined that they should somehow change the whole television system. But here we have closed captioning. Aha, look at that. We can use it this way. Right? So again, the curb cut effect, it extends everywhere.
From this small pocket of Northern California, the movement for accessibility in the built environment grew across the US and the world. Today, in New Zealand, curb cuts are standard design practice. Those with disabilities are able to be more mobile and more independent thanks to a person in an iron lung and a group of individuals that fought tirelessly for their right to participate in the things that we so often take for granted. Ed Roberts died in 1995 at the age of 56 from a heart attack, but his legacy continues on at nearly every street corner, from Auckland to Berkeley, from Dubai to Moscow, from Beijing to Ulaanbaatar, and everywhere in between.